Growing up playing video games, one of the things that could always really suck would be the difficulty of trying to get new games, since we were kids and resources were a lot more limited. And sure, some kids were more spoiled than others, but for the most part, we got far fewer games back then than we do now as adults. However, with deprivation comes excitement, and some of those few times we did get games could be really exciting. And that's what this video is all about. I'm going to tell some of my stories of some of my favorite things I remember getting as a kid, and of course I want to hear all of your stories too, so be thinking of those while I go through mine. Okay, so my first story takes place back during the whole huge Pokemon craze. It was around like 1998 or so. And so the trading cards were a huge part of this. I mean, everybody would be out during lunchtime, I remember, and literally the entire school had their Pokemon cards out and they were trading and this and that. And I had, like a few here and there, but it was pretty limited. But anyways, also the Game Boy games were really big, and I remembered really liking them, but I didn't actually have the game myself. I only got to play a little bit of it from some kid who always had like everything, had the game, and he let me and a friend borrow it for like one afternoon or something. And we were totally into it. We thought it was awesome. So anyways, it was just in my brain, and constantly every day everybody was all about Pokemon, and I would have loved to play the game, but I remember like it felt like months went by. Who knows, as a kid it might have just been weeks or even a few days, who knows, but it felt like forever, and I just didn't have the game, and I had either given up hope or whatever. And then I remember one day my neighbor was having a garage sale, and I'm not the type of person who ever had an allowance or anything like that. I don't remember ever having money as a kid for anything, not even from like birthdays or anything. But so anyways, my neighbor paid to put an ad in the paper for a garage sale he was having. So he was getting all sorts of people coming in to check out his garage sale. And so my 10-year-old brain thought, hey, I got to capitalize on this. So I went into the house and I just start grabbing whatever crap I can to bring out there to sell. I don't even know if half of it was my stuff, but whatever I did, my parents were okay with it, I remember. And so after an entire day of having all my stuff out there, I made like a little over 30 bucks. And I remembered thinking like, oh my God, I have like money. This is crazy. And I thought about what I could do with it. And I thought I can go to Toys R Us right now and buy Pokemon Red for myself. And then I will own the game and I'll have it and I can play it whenever I want. And that was just the most incredible thought ever. Either my mom or my dad took me to go get it, and that was just like one of the coolest things ever. I'm pretty sure that's the first video game I ever bought myself. Okay, my next story has to do with the Nintendo 64. Now, for some reason, I stopped playing video games for a couple years in between like the Super Nintendo Sega Genesis timeline and the Nintendo 64 timeline. I have no idea why, but I did. And so this was, I think, also around like 1998 or so, maybe 1997, I can't remember. But so anyways, there was this neighbor who lived behind me, and he had a Nintendo 64, and one day he randomly invited me to come over and play. And I remember it was kind of unique because he was a few years younger than me, and when you're kids, a few years is a lot bigger of a gap. So anyways, I went over there and he was like, do you want to play Nintendo 64? And I like barely even knew what it was at the time, and I wasn't really that interested, but he kept wanting to play it. And so finally I did. And then I obviously got really into it. And I remember what I would do every day after school, because he lived behind me. I had like this sawn off tree stump on my end of the fence, and he would stick a chair on the other end of his fence, and so I would climb up onto the tree stump, over the fence, and then onto the chair, and just right in there, and we just start playing Nintendo 64. And it was so cool to be able to play it that way, but I remember really wanting it for myself, and I just thought how cool it would be to just like wake up on a weekend morning and have it for myself. So months and months go by until my birthday finally, and my parents are well aware that I want it. And I got it, and it came with Diddy Kong Racing, which is a game I hadn't played before. It was new to me, and that was really exciting because you know, I had played Mario Kart so much, and so just to have that, and you know, be able to play it with my own friends, not just having to go over, you know, to the neighbors to be able to play it, that was just like really cool for me. Okay, so that was for my birthday of 1998, and I know that thinking back now because of what game is coming up next. So I have my own Nintendo 64 now, which means I'm able to get excited for new games that are going to be coming out for the system. And of course, that November, Zelda Ocarina of Time was coming out, and I was really excited for it. And Nintendo must have done a good job marketing the game, because I actually had not played any Zelda games before that one. But so anyways, I was really excited for it, and I specifically remember, I can't remember how far in advance this was, but a Nintendo Power magazine came out. I had just gotten a subscription to it, and on the cover was Ocarina of Time, and for some reason my dad like knew that was the game I was excited for. I must have been talking about it a lot or whatever. He normally wouldn't say that much about the video games I was playing. But so anyways, I remember getting that magazine, and it just really built up the hype for the game. And you know, I obviously had faith that my parents would come through and get it for me, but as a kid, you just never know until you open up the gifts, because I mean, we all have stories where we get screwed, and you know, you get something else, and then as adults we feel bad because we acted like a turd and didn't get excited back at the time or whatever. But so anyways, I had good faith that my parents would get it for me, and sure enough, there it was. And it wasn't the gold cartridge though, which I didn't even honestly care about as a kid. I was just so excited to have the game, I could have cared less if it was the gold cartridge or not. It is funny though, because it shows that my parents didn't buy it like the day it came out or whatever, which is what you needed to do for the gold cartridges. I can't remember how long of a chance you had to get them, but anyways, so yeah, and then that game went on to be my favorite game of all time, and it still is to this day. So I actually replayed it a couple years ago, and I still think that. But so yeah, that's always a memory that I'm gonna be remembering. Okay, so those are a few of my stories, and of course I want to hear what some of the stories you all might have. And for last week's video, some of you wrote some really fun stories that I really enjoyed reading. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading what you might have to say. And you know what's kind of funny about these stories is that it makes you think how being able to basically just get whatever games you want and just be in control of when you're buying new games and this and that, it's obviously really nice, and we'd prefer it to how it was as a kid, but there definitely just isn't that same sort of like surprise and excitement that we would have back when we were kids. But so anyways, yeah, really want to hear your stories, and I will see ya in the next video.